Thank you for watching another episode of the Boat Geeks. If you are liking what you're finding here at our channel, please hit the thumbs up below.
And please like and subscribe so you don't miss a future episode.
Absolutely. And you can comment too. Feel free to comment.
Yeah, we love to hear what you think.
Thank you.
Captain Peter's boat, Ama Natura, was it built at the Wooden Boat School?
Northwest School of Wooden Boat School.
There's a connection. Okay, lucky. Yeah. And you've been taking Ama Natura up the Inside Passage for
16 years in a row.
16 years. And get this, never has there been a drop of petroleum diesel in that vessel.
Or
right?
petroleum. Or motor oils.
Motor oils.
Or transmission.
Yeah. When you told us that, I had no idea you could even do that.
Yeah.
Well, I learned from NOAA, which started to do this a long time ago.
From the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival and recorded in the Fisheries Supply, live from the Wooden Boat Festival stage, it's the Boat Geeks with Darren and Daeron.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks.
Welcome to another episode of the Boat Geeks Special Edition. We are coming to you live from the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival 2024. I am your host, Darren.
And I'm your other host, Darren. And we are in the Fisheries Supply live from the Wooden Boat Festival stage. And right now, we have as our guest Captain Peter Wilcox of DeCarbThePassage.net. Now, I'll let you know that Darren and I belong to the Port Townsend Yacht Club. And it was a few years ago, easily, I think.
Maybe 3, yeah.
Yeah. Peter came and did a presentation about this subject matter, and everyone loved it. So if you're a yacht club in the greater Puget Sound, Salish Sea area, and you're looking for good content for a presentation to your club, get a hold of Captain Peter, and he will blow your mind with what can happen here.
Yep. And we're about to blow your mind right now.
Yeah, and Darren's going to, because he wasn't there for your presentation, so he's going to learn, and that's what we love, to learn.
All right.
So tell us a little bit about the whole premise, Decarb.
And welcome, Captain Peter. I hope you're enjoying your time at the show.
So about almost 17 years ago, I founded the Inside Passage Decarbonization Project. DecarbThePassage.net for our website. And I recognize the problem that boats are not neutral in their what they do to the water. Every single day at every single fuel dock, there's diesel and gasoline that incidentally spills. Mm-hmm. Boats at the end of their life are often scuttled, which means that somebody drills holes in the bottom and sends them to the bottom of the bay or the harbor or the sea.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind, where they start immediately to emit nanoplastics, and they also have long-term, really serious consequences. So we didn't focus on the end of life very much for a long time. We focused on the boat operations, making boats more efficient, figuring out ways that we could eliminate any kind of toxicity at all that boats were responsible for. And so that's been a long, wonderful journey. We've made 16 voyages up the Inside Passage in straight years. We've stopped at every fuel dock. We try to stop every other year. We've never bought their products. We started for the first 11 years, 10 and a half, we use 100% biodiesel, which I was already familiar with because I used it in my cars. And then as soon as I learned about renewable diesel, which had already been widely in use, and this is not biodiesel, it's real diesel. This in Europe and in Asia, it had already been in use for a long time, like a decade. It was invented basically in Finland.
And it's readily available in other parts of the world.
It's
more.
It's readily available, except not at fuel docks yet. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of fuel docks in California where 85% of all the diesel sold in California is now already renewable diesel.
Wow.
And and by 2030 it'll be zero petroleum diesel.
That's amazing.
But here, if you get past the northern boundary of California, there's not a single fuel dock that has it available. However, a lot of card locks have it available. Yeah. So if you have a nice smaller boat or a boat with a small tank, especially a sailboat, typically, you have very small tankage, you can just go to your, get an account at one of those card locks, go in there with your tote, put it in your tote or two. The stuff lasts forever. It has indefinite shelf life, unlike petroleum carbon or diesel that has a 1-year life cycle before it starts to lose power. And you just put it in your boat and go. And if you've got other petroleum diesel in there, it doesn't matter. It mixes perfectly. But as soon as everybody who's tried this, once they've had that first tank, they never want to go back to petroleum diesel.
Now, why is California ahead of the game? What was it that instigated that process in California? And is that your goal here, is trying to make the same thing happen in Washington, Oregon?
It's not about mimicking California at all, but California has this California Air Resources Board, and it's famous at being ahead of the curve worldwide. Although now I'd say Europe's ahead in terms of air pollution and other types of pollution, including pollution of the oceans and seas and lakes and waters. And so they're the ones that started to, and then actually simultaneously the BC government started thinking about developing a low carbon fuel standard, which is a policy that takes a small tax on petroleum diesel at the pump and takes that money and moves it over and uses it one way or the other to try to convince all of us boaters and diesel drivers and buses and trains and everything else to use renewable diesel instead, because it's like 85 to 90% life cycle carbon reduced. It also happens to be non-toxic in salt water and fresh water.
Yeah.
So they started it, and that policy's worked really well everywhere you go in California, and the fuel docks and at the car docks, and you'll always find renewable diesel right there.
Wow.
And that's starting to move up north. BC's probably second, and Washington was the last state to get a low carbon fuel standard. But now there's some on the East Coast. There's even New Mexico's doing it. So it's just a much cleaner fuel.
That's great.
But it's also diesel.
I know that you run into the negative connotations that people have with what was called biodiesel. And there's a vast difference between renewable diesel, biodiesel, and you shared basically at the molecular level what renewable diesel and petroleum diesel looks like.
That's right.
And it's
basically
the
petroleum. So the diesel molecule, the essential diesel molecule, what most diesel is made of, is a molecule called cetane. It's made from 2 hydrogen and 1 carbon atom. Those make up those molecules. That's cetane. Biodiesel is I call it a liquid that diesel engines can tolerate. I mean, when Rudolf Diesel invented the diesel engine, he wanted it to run on peanut oil and all kinds of other vegetable oils.
Yeah.
That's what it was designed to do. And in fact, that's what it did for a very long time. It wasn't until World War II came along, actually World War I, excuse me, and the military wanted to have vast amounts of fuel. Yeah. And so they started switching to renewable, biodiesel. But, it's biodiesel is can be made from any kind of vegetable product, feedstock. But renewable diesel is real diesel. It's a cetane molecule. So the 2 identical molecules, so you got a synthetic cetane and you got a cetane that's been made by nature, deep in the core of the earth for
millions
hundreds
of years.
Millions of years, right?
Yeah.
But when you bring up that oil liquid, that crude oil, you've got not only the cetane, but you've got a whole lot of other compounds that have been weird compounds that don't exist anywhere else on the earth, that have been made by all that pressure and temperature. And those are the things that don't combust completely, like cetane. And so renewable diesel, when you make it synthetically, you can make a better diesel. You make it so that
cleaner,
it's like 90%, 95% cetane, maybe 85 to 95%, depending on the feedstocks and so on. So now you got a fuel that's almost pure combustion. Everything's burned. There's very little stuff that doesn't combust. So you don't have smoke. You don't have smell. People don't get seasick. And most importantly, it's non-toxic to plants and animals in the oceans and in the lakes. And
So
the
this
rivers.
sounds like a win in every direction. What is the difficulty of, is it convenience for people? Is it just having to overhaul equipment? Like what is the blocker that's keeping this from being everywhere? Because it makes so much sense to me.
Well, a couple of things. So in one direction, there's the contracts that oil companies make big oil, but small oil too, that make the filling stations, they kind of get them in a situation where they have no options. So they say, well, we'll buy your pumps for you, and we'll buy your hoses for you, and we'll put your tank, your underground storage in there for you, and then you got to sign, a 50-year or a
the golden handcuffs,
contract, right? And then they'll say very clearly, you can't buy fuel or sell that fuel from any other supplier, and it has to be ours, and that's it. So it becomes, challenging. And I've never seen one of those contracts, but I know that they're tough to break.
Sure.
But there must be some ways to slice in there, and sometimes maybe you just have to form different companies that are new, to sell the stuff.
Right.
But it's working in California.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go at the pump, you're finding renewable diesel. So they figured out a way to work it around there. We ought to be able to work it around here. The other thing is that you need feedstock. You need something to get the carbon and hydrogen molecules. So you can make synthetically, you can make renewable diesel, right? That's what happens. It's not a refinery, but it's a different process. Okay. And it depends on the feedstock. It can be very different. So, and you also need an extra hydrogen molecule because the organic compounds, which is what this all comes from, food waste, tallow from, meat processing, fish processing, used cooking oil. They're even using what they call brown grease, which is the part of the sewage treatment plants aren't able to turn everything into clean water.
Wow.
There's some waste, and it's solid stuff. They can even get the carbon hydrogen molecules there. They also have to get the extra hydrogen to make it work, right? So that needs to be made in a green way. But a lot of the oil majors and some of the companies, there's kind of good and bad players in this game.
Sure.
They are using virgin oils to make their fuel because it's easier, it's less costly. But the thing is, all these low carbon fuel standards have kind of addressed this. So they have a carbon index and they have spectroscopy so they can test this stuff and see what they're really using, not what they're telling you they're using. And they do. And they meet the same spec and everything. So they're giving the people that are using truly waste things, of which there's an awful lot in the world, vast quantities, and they're giving them a higher reimbursement, right? Reimbursement. Okay. So they're actually giving them credits that they can sell.
Incentive to do it right.
So that's what's the way that's trying to keep this working right. And so gradually, as green agriculture is starting to take more effect, they're doing more cover crop planting because you don't ever want to leave the soil barren. You always want to keep that soil ecosystem going. And so those are great. Those aren't food stocks, right? They aren't. That's not food. And there's tremendous amounts of food waste. There's all these other things. There's a million feedstocks. So that's one of the controversies, and it's something we have to address. And it is addressed partially by the legislation, but it's not perfect.
Wow.
On the other hand, toxic things that kill everything that's spilled in the ocean is, I would say, of a higher priority.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
where the profits are.
The Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival, an annual celebration every September, the weekend after Labor Day. Hundreds of incredible wooden boats, an amazing slate of seminars and workshops, and fun activities for all ages. The Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival, a project of Northwest Maritime. Tickets and information at woodenboat.org.
So, Captain Peter's boat, Ama Natura, was it built at the Wooden Boat School?
Northwest School of Wooden Boat School.
There's a connection.
So
Okay,
lucky.
yeah. And you've been taking Ama Natura up the Inside Passage for
16 years in a row.
16 years. And get this, never has there been a drop of petroleum diesel in that vessel
or
right?
petroleum,
Or
motor oils,
motor oils.
or transmission.
Yeah.
Or fuel
When you
fluid,
told us
or
that, I had no
fluid.
idea you could even do that.
Yeah.
Well, I learned from NOAA, which started to do this a long time ago. I learned early on from them about the non-petroleum-based motor oil and switched to that. It's been wonderful. NOAA says that it lasts longer in their boats. They've tested it a lot.
yeah.
I've decided to stick with the basic prescription as the motor manufacturer asks you to do, just because I don't trust those kind of things. It's too important,
Yeah.
and so on. But it's and then there's other things too. I mean, related to the fuel systems, right? So in boats, especially in warm temperatures, you can get moisture into the fuel either at the pump, because there was some moisture coming in through the air or whatever, and you can get it through your fuel vent lines, right? And so most people use biocides, and CIDE means poison, right? Biocide.
Yeah.
So some of that side stuff gets through the combustion chamber and out the exhaust and into the water. So there's
Blow-by,
another
right? Yeah.
toxin going there and killing single cell, phytoplankton, zooplankton. We don't need to do that. So it was a Port Townsend marine engineer who developed, understood how the space station and the space capsules before it, how they were keeping the respiration of the astronauts from ruining that very complex, high-tech, systems on those stations and on those capsules. And so he used the same technology, this special silicone gel that's this super desiccant, and made something called H2 outs. And so H2 outs go on the vent line, and so we've never used any biocide in our boat.
You don't need to.
We don't need to. We've never had any bugs grow there. The problem is they grow and then they get into your fuel filters, and it takes that. And so trucking lines love this. Bus companies love it. It saves like 2% of their maintenance costs because they don't have to be out of service, and they're taking those things.
We had Chuck Laguna on the show from
H2 Out.
H2 Out, and
We learned all about that.
we've been using fuel guards for I don't know how long, 15 years.
Port Townsend is an enlightened place in terms of these sorts of things.
Well, and that was one of the points of doing this podcast, is to educate people, educate ourselves and educate our listeners, because a lot of it is, I just didn't know. And so thank you so much for educating us and our listeners. And thank you for doing just great work.
Some great work.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're all
benefiting
our environment. And it just, to me, this is a win-win-win. It makes total sense. And I hope to see your work become, successful, more and more successful over every year doing. And all those trips up in the inside passage. That sounds like so much fun. I'd love to see your boat.
That wasn't hard work.
Yeah,
that was a gift.
I'm sure.
We actually passed you in Saratoga Passage last year. Now, that looks like it is.
What does the name mean?
It's a sort of Latin, I've been told. One Latin speaker or Latin scholar told me they thought it was pretty close to this. She loves nature.
Nice.
It's not exactly the right conjugation, but it sounds really good together. And the next boat we're planning on retrofitting and making into a even more efficient boat with much more solar and much more solar electric propulsion is going to be Ama Futura. She loves
that
the
cool?
future.
That is super cool.
I told him that we want to do a show about boat names, and that's a perfect example of thought, originality going into boat names. Love it.
That is awesome. So now if people want to, like if our listeners are going, this is awesome, I want to be involved, I want to adopt this fuel and use it myself, what can people do to learn more? You had your website.
Decarb the passage.
We'll put in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, so I would urge them to, talk to other people who are using it in their community. Alex Spear here in Port Townsend has been using it for quite a while and knows all about it, and is always willing to talk about it.
Sure.
We're always willing to go and talk at port yacht clubs and at port commissions. We're going to be doing that on another one of the islands here.
Oh, you're going up
soon.
to Orcas, right?
Orcas.
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
And,
your shade is bonking.
So, but also every time you fill up, say whoever you get the fuel from, say, why can't I get clean, non-toxic, renewable diesel instead of this junk that's harming the ocean and harming our own lungs and my kids' lungs and my grandfather's lungs?
We need to make noise.
You know, make noise.
And you have to specifically use that term, renewable diesel. Don't ask for biodiesel.
It's very
older
different.
people,
Yeah.
you know, us older guys, it's biodiesel. No, this is renewable diesel.
And that word
Completely
is
different
such
ballgame.
an important word
Yeah.
in this
It
whole
is.
subject matter.
In Europe, they call it green diesel quite a lot.
Oh, well, there you go.
But they had it
Simple.
first. It actually came, like I said, from Finland, but it's green diesel there and sometimes renewable diesel there, but it's renewable diesel everywhere else.
Cool.
Right.
And it's not biodiesel.
Yep.
Absolutely not.
Well, Captain Peter, again, we thank you for taking time to share this info with us. We'd love to talk to you again and have you on the podcast again. We hope you're enjoying your time here at the Wooden Boat Festival. And
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
stopping by.
All right.
That's been another episode of the Boat Geeks. And until next time, whatever floats your boat.
We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. We're the Boat Geeks, it's the boat that floats that we love the most. Yes, we love the boats. We're the Boat Geeks, whatever floats your boat. Walk on the water, float on the sea, crossing the oceans between you and me. The wind in our hair, the salt on the breeze, bringing us closer, life on the sea.